This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
Hello, pet lovers. This is Michelle Fern, your host on Best Bets for Pets. My product today, well, let's just say my guest invented something for all of those uncooperative pets. So stay tuned. We're going to tell you all about it. We'll be right back. Hey everybody, Michelle Fern here. You know, when you have dogs and cats living in your house, there's always a time when you have to be a detective, find out who left the present on the rug, who chewed up your new shoes, or who ripped open that bag of chips on the counter. Well, as a detective, I've discovered June's Journey. It's a fun new game where you search for hidden objects to solve a murder mystery. I've even found clues that were dogs, cats, birds, and other animals. With new chapters every week, June's Journey is a wonderful way to keep my memory and observation skills sharp. And hey, it's fun racking up those points. Join the 30 million fans worldwide and download June's Journey free to your phone or tablet on the Apple app or Google Play Store today.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back, everyone. I'd like to welcome Dr. Laura Catena to the show. She is the inventor of the ArmOR Hand Protector Pet Glove. Welcome, Dr. Laura.
Thank you so much for having me, Michelle. It's so nice to be here.
I'm so thrilled to have you. And I love your product, love it.
Thank you.
We'll have to give a visual. Let's go ahead and describe it. And then I want some, what made you decide to create this?
Sure. So I'll start with the description. So the ArmOR Hand gloves, they are animal handling gloves. They are made from the strongest of the stretch materials, including a double layer of knit DuPont Kevlar. The gloves are vegan, so they're all synthetic. They offer superior flexibility and dexterity. The gloves come up to the elbow, so it's a full forearm coverage, and really unique benefits to the gloves. So a big thing for me is to minimize and decrease the risk of infectious disease transmission as much as we can when we're working with animals. So the gloves are machine washable. They can be disinfected. You can spray them, wipe them down. And the whole reason that I developed the product was shortly after I graduated from vet school, I was working in an ER job. So this was a 24-hour emergency clinic, and there was a patient that I was handling. And it's very common in practice, where accidental injuries occur. So we're bit or scratched, and we kind of just, clean our hands, soak it, go and see the next patient. And these injuries sometimes are not, a big deal. And when I got bit by this particular patient, I did the same thing, cleaned my hands, soaked it. But I noticed that it was, extremely painful. And after my ER shift, I went to the hospital, and there they did the same kind of thing where I soaked my hand and I was discharged on oral antibiotics. Not thinking that this was a big deal, went to bed, thought everything was going to be fine. I woke up the next morning and the infection had spread from my thumb all the way up to the left side of my neck. So I had a red line of infection all the way up my arm. My left hand was 3 times the size of my right, and all of my joints in my hand had become septic. So they were very infected. And went back to the hospital, and the infection was overtaking my body so much that I had to undergo emergency surgery that day. All of my joints were cleaned out. I had to have a PICC line placed in my right arm in order to receive the strongest of IV antibiotic treatments. And that went on for weeks after I was discharged from the hospital. And then I had months of physical therapy in order to regain the use of my hand. So this injury was potentially career ending for me. When I was in the hospital, I did not know if I would have function of my left hand again. And I did not know if this injury was career ending. So I was in the hospital for a week. And during that time, just thought, how could I prevent this? Even if I'm not working again, how can I protect other animal caregivers, from the pain, the expense that I endured. And that is exactly how the idea for the gloves came about. I started when I was in the hospital working on the idea. It took a couple years of development. And then finally I got the perfect glove, which I wanted. And then the rest is kind of history, but it definitely, the idea for the gloves came from that initial cat bite.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm so happy you're okay. And
Thank you.
I just want to say your bite, I've heard of other bites. I have had on the show a cat groomer in the UK, and it was a book, and she was talking about she had gotten bitten, didn't think much of it until 2 hours later, her arm blew up and was green and everything.
Yes.
So, people think, I'm saying regular people, not, people in the industry, but you think you get an animal bite, you just rinse it. Okay. It's not, but I know that cats, especially dogs too,
Yes.
Cats have their bacteria is so toxic,
Yes.
more so than dogs.
Right. It's true. I mean, and their teeth they're sharp, and so some of these injuries, it's really a concern. And what I wanted to make sure I was doing with the gloves is that, I researched where I was injured is one of the most common injuries on the hand. So that's reinforced. And I really wanted, to have a glove that people would wear. What's the point in having the product if, they're too bulky or nobody wants to use it? So I really did put the time into the product, but I agree with you entirely. These bites and even scratches to a degree, it's very serious. And if there's an animal caregiver or even a pet owner who is immunocompromised or they're undergoing chemotherapy and their immune system is not functioning at 100%, honestly, some of these bites, they can be lethal. I know of a veterinarian who was elderly practicing and he was injured, with a cat bite. And I don't want to say it was directly the cause of his death, but I do know that it was a contributing factor. And so it's very important to me for anybody, pet owners or groomers, animal control, veterinarians, that we are really putting our health, we're making it a priority. And I think it's just vital at this point to use personal protective equipment and also, with the gloves in order, not just to protect ourselves, but we're also able to restrain and handle the animals compassionately. So I didn't want, the bulky welder gloves that historically were available to us in practice, that you cannot clean and you almost had to manhandle the pet because they were so bulky. And so with this product, I'm able to do low stress, handling techniques. The gloves are a fear-free preferred product. And so I just really wanted to make it the best experience for the, animal caregiver, but also for the patient as well.
That's a great lead into kind of my next question. We'll talk about all of the uses because there's a ton of uses. But when you say to make it compassionate animal handling, I thought, yes, of course, because one of the things that just really, I think, is a challenge for most pet parents is getting their pet to the vet. Not
Yes.
dogs because they're used to being on a leash and going outside, but your cats, yeah. And if you ever have an emergency, what are you going to do? Because I was doing a show not that long ago and they said, well, worst case, you could throw a pillow over them and just yank it up. And that was in case of, a fire, something all of a sudden.
Sure.
But even a vet visit, because as you mentioned earlier, it's not only the bite, but there's scratches. There's bacteria in the nails too. So that's also a problem. I think the scratches, my guess would have to be kind of deep, but still, I like my hands and arms and everything.
Right.
And I want to keep them.
Right. Exactly. And that's an excellent point because when a lot of my clients see me use the gloves in practice, I've heard so many of them say, well, I need a pair because I can bring this cat, into the vet that I didn't even know existed because the cat has not been to the vet yet, because they have trouble getting, that particular pet into the carrier. And it's just kind of not worth their stress trying to do that. So I think that pet owners really benefit from the gloves too, because we're increasing compliance. They're able to safely bring their pet into the vet. And also when we recommend to give your pet this oral medication, or start brushing their teeth at home, or give them insulin injections. Now pet owners have a tool that they can use if they're a little bit anxious about doing these things, even trimming, their cat's nails at home. They can wear the gloves, and the dexterity is so incredible that they're able to wear the gloves, still be protected, but also do all of the stuff, that we're recommending that they do at home. And I think they feel a lot less anxious about it.
Yes. So benefits both.
Yes.
We're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about my experience and also the right way to introduce your pet to the ArmOR hand glove. We'll be right back.
Sit. Stay. We'll be right back, right after we kibble a little with our sponsors.
Hey everyone, Michelle Fern here, your host on Best Bets for Pets and Catitude. Ben and Jerry's has frozen treats for dogs. I know Nikki is going to love this. He loves a frozen treat. They have 2 different flavors. One is Punch's Mix, which is peanut butter and pretzel, and the other one is Rosie Spatch, which is pumpkin and mini cookies. I kind of like both of those flavors too, but my absolute favorite is fish food. Anything Ben & Jerry's is always fabulous because the quality is so good and their mixes are so delicious. Be sure to check out more about these frozen dog desserts, as well as pictures of all the caniners at the Ben & Jerry's Vermont office at benjerry.com. That's BenJerry.com.
Let's talk pets
Let's talk pets
on Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back, everyone. We're talking to Dr. Laura, the creator of the ArmOR Hand Protective Pet Gloves. And Dr. Laura, okay, I'll tell you my experience. I really think they're fabulous because I have many cats, and one that's in-house, 3 in-house, 2 outside, because they're kind of like TNR, but they're a little more my community than regular community. So my cat Molly, she was born right outside the doorstep. She was held a lot as a little kitten, but apparently not enough because she does not like to be held.
Sure.
So my thought was, I'm going to put on the gloves and I'm going to hold her just to pick her up, which I have never, ever done before. So yes. I didn't know how to get her used to it. So I put on the gloves, I petted her, I let her smell them, and then I picked her up. And she did, I guess this is the cat pose. It's kind of like the dead man pose where they just lay there like, okay, what are you doing? And it's kind of their protective, to just lay there. And put her down. And then she did it again, and I gave her a treat, so she knew it was a good thing. Right. I tried a third time, and she was like a little wah, and I waited a bit, and I thought, okay, don't push it. But I didn't really do a lot of, pre-work ahead of time, to get her that used to it. All of this was within a period of maybe 10 minutes. So what did I do right, wrong? What are the best ways to get your pet used to it?
Okay, I love this question because there's so many different things that we can do. And so one option, and you can do all these in combination. So there are pheromone products, and with the gloves being machine washable, you can definitely, with a clean pair of gloves, use the pheromone product directly on the gloves. And that can also help to have more of a calming, effect on the pet. And what I like to do with a pet that is not familiar with the gloves, I will place baby food directly on the glove. And so what I do in the exam room, I make sure that, the patient will have hiding spaces. So whether it's they can go under a counter or wherever, just to make sure that they have spaces where they can hide. And so when I approach them and I'm wearing the glove, I have the food directly on the glove and it takes time. It's a process, but I make the positive association by placing the food directly on the glove, them gently, taking it. And it's a process. But the more that I do that, they're going to associate that positive connection. And so it makes it really a lot easier and less stressful for them. I've also noticed with some of my patients that have been abused, and these are abuse cases, they are very fearful of a human hand. And so for those particular patients, when I use the gloves, they're actually more comfortable. So, there's a lot of different ways to go about it, but I think just making sure that there's that positive association with the glove, to handle them compassionately, make sure that there's hiding spaces where they can go in and just kind of do it on their terms. It's going to be different for every pet. But as long as the process is slow and it's positive reinforcement, I think the association comes out to be very positive with that.
That's what I was trying to do by rewarding her, but I didn't think
Yes.
the food on the glove. That's even better.
Yeah, I've noticed just cats, I'll put the baby food right on the glove and I let them kind of approach me, and so once they see the food though, I feel like that's initially starting this positive association. But what you did, I think is excellent too, just to, keep on supplying the treats, talk calmly, anything like that, just to make it a very low stress, but positive experience for sure.
And what would you say would be the best use of the gloves? Is it for vet? Is just having them for emergencies, for nail clipping, which I have to build up to that with Molly.
Sure. Right.
Or I'll answer for my opinion. You think about it, and one trip to the hospital is going to cost maybe, 20 times more than the gloves cost.
Absolutely.
You never know when you might have to just pick everybody up. I live in hurricane land, so if that's happening, you have some notice. Sure, sometimes you don't have a lot of notice. There's some people that have been very good with getting their cats crate trained. One of my cats just walks in. He's like, okay.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Which is unheard of. But Dennis is like that. He's kind of a dog, sort of dog.
Oh, yeah.
But I just think that there's so many good things that they can be used for. What have you heard from your patients?
So I feel like, and it's a combination for me, I think that for pet owners to have the gloves on hand, if there's an emergency. So in the summer, we see an increase in, bee stings, this and that. One of my friends who has the sweetest dog ever, unfortunately, was hit by a car the other week. And just that stress, the dog is in pain. And when she went to move her pet, he bit her. And so I feel like it's definitely worth the investment because things happen. I mean, it's life, things happen, our pets get into things. And so if we need to, get them to a vet to have the gloves on hand, I think it's always a good idea. Also, though, to keep up with compliance, if we are a little bit anxious about trimming our cat's nails, a big thing for me is we're working on trying to end, declaws in the US. And so I know a lot of my cat owners, they're anxious about trimming nails, and some of them are older. And so it is a health concern if they were bit or scratched. So with the gloves, when I explain, why we want to advise against the declaw and have them start to trim the nails at home, I think that they just feel so much more comfortable being protected. And also just some of the feedback I've received from groomers. My wildlife rehabbers are a huge customer of mine, and they are working with bald eagles and all different kinds of species. They're rescuing so much wildlife every day. And so it just makes me feel really good to be contributing to so many different aspects, of animal care. But to answer kind of your original question, I think for the pet owners, definitely the home compliance, is increased if they feel protected. And also just in any emergency situation to have the gloves on hand if they need to use them in that way.
I'm just going to take a little devil's advocate thing, but I don't think there's anything else quite like your product. The only things I've seen are some leather, almost like leather chaps for your arm. But one, they're uncomfortable, and two, they're not pliable, and they're not vegan, of course. And then you have your hands, and people might think, well, I could get a garden glove, whatever. Yeah, but those are not bite proof,
Exactly. Yes, that's an excellent point. And so, and what I tell customers too, so the gloves are bite and scratch resistant. So there's really not any glove that we can label as puncture proof, because there can be different factors with that at play, with that. But what I love about the gloves, and I agree with you, there's really nothing like them on the market because they are vegan, they're machine washable, they're wipeable, and just the superior flexibility, the dexterity and flexibility of the gloves really makes it unique. But on top of that, the materials that are used, there is not another glove where even the gardening gloves, it's kind of the combination of materials of ArmOR Hand. I researched these materials for years in order to get this perfect fit and function. And so I think the combination of materials is so unique where you're able to do what you need to do, but it does offer a level of protection. And I'll be honest, like most of the feedback, I'd say probably 98% of the animal handlers, they're saying, we avoided injury altogether. Sometimes they can feel the pressure, but they're not getting injured. And I love hearing that, but I always do tell all of my customers, still use caution because the glove, it's not like a puncture proof product, but I feel like everything works together enough that the feedback I receive is that people are avoiding injury altogether. And I love hearing that.
You're saying that most people aren't getting injuries?
When they're wearing the gloves, they are being fully protected. So there's a ton of reviews that I post on the Facebook page and the website. And I've had people use the gloves with, snakes, raccoons, squirrels, bald eagles, hawks, red-tailed hawks, and they're not getting injured. Feral cats, so I think the product overall is working, very well.
Yeah. I mean, anything other than, I think, wild animals, which is out of the realm of what we're doing here.
Right.
When you said earlier, I wouldn't say it's puncture proof. I said, well, yeah, maybe a tiger or a lion or something,
Right.
There, but that's not what we're talking about here. I love cats, but they're unpredictable. Even dogs, sometimes you could have two dogs, they could start fighting. It's just a wonderful way to protect yourself and avoid an injury. And I'm so glad you're well, because when I saw the picture about that is, people just don't realize that cat bites are so infectious. They just don't.
I agree. And it surprised me, honestly, because I remember they said, you have to have emergency surgery. I had no idea that the injury was that severe, but I had stitches, the entire top of my thumb, the underside, and it was painful. I was in physical therapy for almost 7 months just to regain the function of my hand, so off work for that entire time. It was painful, expensive. So I just feel like it's such a good investment to have just another tool in our toolbox that we can use, to really protect ourselves.
Exactly. So where can everyone buy them?
Thanks. So on the website, customers can purchase directly. And the website, it's armorhandglove.com. So that's ARMOR and then handglove.com. And then I also have an ArmOR Hand Glove Facebook page as well. And I'm setting up the store on there within the next few weeks. But customers can definitely purchase directly on the website through e-commerce.
Dr. Laura, any other bits of advice you would give, especially somebody that's kind of thinking about this, but goes skeptic on, I don't know, I get bit. What's a big deal? Yeah, sure, whatever. What would you say to them?
Sure. So I would say that it's really important to protect our health. So bites are painful, expensive. And the other thing, we're still in a pandemic. So there's been a huge increase of awareness on infectious disease transmission. And when we're working with animals, that is always a risk. So the gloves help to decrease the transmission of infectious disease. It helps to keep ourselves safe, our patients, our clients, our pet owners. So it's just a really good investment overall. And it's something I really feel like it's vital, when we're working with animals, to do whatever we can to decrease the risk of disease transmission.
I absolutely agree. And I'd like to say, I thought they were fantastic. I was able to pick Molly up first time since she's been over 2 months old. And I was ecstatic because I thought, this is how I can get her to the vet if I need to.
Right.
Dr. Laura, I want to thank you so much for creating the ArmOR Hand Pet Protector Glove. And thanks so much for coming on Best Bets for Pets.
Thank you so much, Michelle, for having me.
I hope everybody enjoyed the show as much as I did. I want to thank Dr. Laura Catena for coming on Best Bets for Pets and creating such a great product. Please check it out. It's the ArmOR Hand Protector Glove, and you can do a search for it. I'd like to thank Molly, who is my tester for the glove. And thank you, Molly. You did good. And thanks to everyone listening to Best Bets for Pets for making us such a popular pet product show. And thanks, of course, to my producer, Mark Winter, for making me and my guests sound amazing. Now keep listening. You never know what we're going to have on Best Bets for Pets.
Let's Talk Pets, every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.